welcome to the 2020 series presented by the New York Film Academy. The 2020 series are conversations with creative visionaries about craft, creativity, and collaboration. So we're going to have 20 minutes of shop talk and then 20 minutes of answering questions from you guys, the global audience. So please write in because we have a fantastic, brilliant actor with us today, who I'm so excited to talk to. Kimberly Huie is with us, hailing from Canada. Okay, Miss Kimberly. Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi.
Yay. How are you?
I am good. I am indoors. I am warm. Haha.
Ha ha ha. So we were just chatting that you are like, we're so grateful to have you because you're in the middle of production, doing the thing. And the question for me that, it seemed like reading your bio and looking at that, you've been at this game and doing this craft for a long time. Is this what you imagined it would look like? That this is what a professional actor and their life looks like?
No. But I will say that I don't know that I knew what it would look like. Like, I don't know that I had like a clear vision. I think that we have these images that we see in magazines and, and entertainment shows.
Mhm.
But what is the actual life of, being an actor day in, day out? I don't know that I really knew what that was. Like, I've grown into it 100%. Yeah, and it's changed even as I have been at this game, as you say, for a while.
But well, of course, and we just had the Oscars. So what we see is like, oh, it must be that you dress really well, or you get some really nice dresses, and you look really cute, and you get to hang out with cool people. But that is probably like what, like 10% of your time?
Probably overall. I mean, because there's all the grunt work in between the dressing up, right? Like the auditioning, the preparing, so all of that stuff. And then when you're lucky, yes, you get some really nice wardrobe and you get to dress up and play and, play with beautiful people and have these great experiences. But there's so much more to it that even then that thrill, like I just did Kings of Napa, which the wardrobe on that was phenomenal. And it was always a treat, to go and have the fitting and then turn up and see, well, which outfit am I going to get to wear for this scene? And that was always fun for that moment. And then it's like, now I got to focus on my marks and what I'm doing and, being of service to the scene and to the writing and to the overall, the overall vision of the piece.
So are you an actor? Is your background like going from the inside out, or is the costume really help you pull you into the story and the storytelling?
It's not 100% one or the other. They both absolutely. I do the interior work, of course, it's because it's a human person normally that I'm playing that has a life of hopes and dreams and fears and all the whole bag of emotions and worries and whatever that we all come with. And then the external stuff can definitely augment and heighten some of that and give me ideas that maybe I didn't have for the character. Like, well, I'll see some wardrobe and go, oh, that's how you see, okay. And there's a little shift in how I interpret the person, the character.
Do you have certain things that like are very important to you, like the shoes you wear or the jewelry that is that like something that you would actually make a request or say have a thing, or or have, as opposed to on the receiving end of it all?
Sure, I'll have a request. I mean, I come with my ideas of how I see the character and make suggestions for sure. For sure, jewelry. I just asked the part that I'm doing right now. I was like, can she have like a signature ring? Like, I just feel like she would have, a piece that is part of her personality and that everybody knows like, oh, that's, you know, that's Pauline's ring. Shoes are definitely important just for the very practical thing of being comfortable, because if your feet hurt, you're just distracted. Honestly, like I've worked in shoes that were too small or too big or, you know, just uncomfortable. And yeah, it makes a difference.
So are those conversations that you typically have, let's say about your character, their wardrobe, the hairstyle, the makeup, is that something you're going to have with the director, the producer? Who are you having those conversations with in the creative vein?
Usually, well, it depends from project to project and what my involvement is.
Mhm.
But like if I'm just, not just, but if I am a guest star on a, you know, on a show that is up and running and going, and they've established, they have their established look, they have their established, you know, we call it palette and all of that.
Right.
The wardrobe, hair, makeup people, they already have all of that information from production. So my conversation is just with them. You know, I'm not going to talk to the
Mhm.
producers or the
Right.
director about that
Right.
stuff. But on a smaller, um, you know, on a smaller movie, I can speak with the producers directly. Maybe not so much the director. The director's kind of signed off on everything with the department heads already, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so what is yours? What was your original school of acting that you trained in?
I guess I started with, I went to Circle in the Square. So um I don't know that method is really the term we want to use anymore. It's just gotten bashed about so much. There's actually a new book out um on the method and what it
Right.
really meant. And
Mm.
uh that's where I studied first. I continue to study. I'm still studying. I study with Atlantic Theater. I study with Margie Haber. I continue to, it's like gym, you know,
Mhm.
like you go to the gym to keep your body in shape. I think actors are constantly in need of, you know, exercising those muscles. So,
And and is it like when you're speaking the same language of people who've come up with the same sort of vocabulary as you came up with, as opposed to an actor that comes from improv or comes from being comedian or, you know, something like that? Is it harder to get on the same page with them when you're like working a scene together?
I don't know that I have been super challenged by anybody because of like a difference in um you know, in our school background. But
Mhm.
I do think that pretty much all of the schools have even if the language, the vocabulary is different, we're all having the same, you know, whether you want to call it a need, a want, an
Mhm.
objective, it's all saying the same thing,
Right.
right? You know, it's like, what are you doing? What's the character doing? Um, and what action are you taking? It's
Mhm.
all variations of the same.
And which what type of roles are most satisfying to you at these days, do you find?
Mm. Um, I think it's, the role is as satisfying as the whole piece. This is
Mm.
a new thing really now for me, that I'm able to look at the whole and like, what is the whole story that we're telling, and not just what's the part of the story that I'm in and what are my lines and you know, just
Mhm.
my little bit. Uh, so it's more about, you know, what's the story, like what's the theme, I guess is one way to put it. Like, what are we talking
Mhm.
about, what are we reflecting back here? So if it is about family dynamics and that character is like the mom, there's more to it than just like being a mom, right? It's how do people connect, how do they relate, how do people, you know, interact with each other
Mhm.
without always causing harm, or, you know, because I think that that is a thing that we're all looking at now, like traumas and the hurt people, and
100%. I mean, there's a lot of, I've studied a bit with some different people I really respect, and there's a whole concept of, it doesn't have to be this didactic, good, bad, black, white, conflict-oriented storytelling anymore. There is much more subtle grays and things like that, and it still can be an exciting story without it being so just good and bad, you know, or where's the conflict in the scene, you know, which becomes a little bit, in my mind, old-fashioned in storytelling. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
100% agree with that, because I think that the thing, and you see this trend too, even in popular shows, the flawed hero or heroine, that everybody's got this duality, you know, there's no perfect being, and everybody has, you know, stuff that they're struggling with, whether it's addictions or mental health issues, or I mean, the list is, I'm going to leave something out, or I'm going to focus too much on one thing. But there's a long list of things that every human has some experience with, and while still trying to be a good human, you know?
Right. And then that's where I think the storytelling is becoming more lush these days, because they're showing many more colors, and it's not just so heavy-handed in just playing the mom, like the stereotypical mom.
Yeah, you know, moms don't just like make meals and make you feel good.
They have a whole life going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But I would love to see, so Charlie, let's play this amazing clip from your Netflix self-made project. And then I would love to talk about the craft in that and your experience.
Sure.
So thank you, Charlie.
Good day to you.
Margaret Washington, may I introduce you to Madam C.J.
Charlie, we're not seeing the right screen. We're seeing something that's not it.
I heard it.
It sounded good. Perfect. Thank you.
Good day to you.
Margaret Washington, may I introduce you to Madam C.J. Walker, our newest member. She has a fabulous local hair care company. Oh, yes. I think I have heard of you.
Be recognized by an esteemed educator such as yourself is an honor. You have an open invitation to my salon. Any treatment, free of charge.
Bless your heart. Hard to get anything but that cheap snake oil stuff in Tuskegee.
Which is why I want to open my own factory.
A factory? Impressive.
I want to make going to the salon affordable for all women.
You are doing the Lord's work. Care to join us? We club women, we socialize in the serving room.
Oh, there's nothing I'd like more. But first, can I trouble you for a favor? I'm in need of investors for my factory, and an endorsement from your husband could make all the difference. I'm just having a hard time getting to one.
I make it a point not to get involved with my husband's affairs. You know how marriage is. I have my business and he has his.
Come, Mrs. Washington. The ladies are expecting us.
You ladies have a good day.
Oh, we started in, what, 1895, when that awful man denigrated Negro womanhood in the Missouri newspaper.
He said that all Negro women are either prostitutes, liars, or thieves.
You don't say. Mama, you hear this?
Of course, we had to respond.
So that's how the National Association of Colored Women got started?
Well, first we were maybe 100 women.
Now we are 250,000 strong, and Margaret is our fearless leader.
Ain't nothing a colored woman can't do once she set her mind to it.
Got that right.
That's right.
I was wondering if I could get you to put in a good word for me to Mr. Washington. I got some investors on the fence, and it seems like men can't hear a good idea unless it comes out another man's mouth.
But as I said before, it's just not our place.
And where exactly is a woman's place? I mean, you are all accomplished women with college degrees. Most of you smarter than your husbands. Why hide back here? Go out there where the action is.
We live in a man's world.
Any opportunity I get to convene with other like-minded women, I gladly take it. Don't mistake us for victims. We choose to be here. We may be near the kitchen, but we're together.
No disrespect. But it don't matter if you choose to be here. You're still in the back afraid to speak.
Look at the time. We better go prepare lunch.
I know how it is.
Female enterprise is good for us all. Good luck with the factory.
Come in. Come in. Thank you. Thank you.
Excelente, excelente. So impressive. So many questions about that. How did you prepare for this role? Like just off the bat. I mean, it's a
for
historical
sure.
event, and it also looked like so thrilling to be with that cast.
So yes, and yes, and yes. The question that you asked before about the wardrobe, this absolutely speaks to that.
Mm.
But so how did I prepare? First of all, I had I knew of Madam CJ Walker. I was familiar with her, and I still didn't know her whole history. So, I mean, I did my research. I read the book that was written by her great granddaughter, who was the jumping off point for the script. It's not like a true to life, retelling of her story. That would be impossible to do, frankly, in 4 episodes. She was an incredible person. And I just, I did all the research that I could find in the time that I had too. And then not just research on my character, Margaret Washington, who was the wife of Booker T. Washington, but the time, like historically, what was going on in the world? What was it like to be, even if you had some means, what was life like to be an educated Black woman who was also had a career of her own? She was a teacher. And it's very different from what it is today, of course. So that was fun and educational. And then what was that? Oh, I wanted to talk about how much in this case the wardrobe really lent itself to the character and to living in a time like not of my own, because I had to wear a corset every day. There was 3 layers of undergarments, beautiful stuff. You look and oh my gosh, there's so much handiwork in this. Just getting dressed, just putting on your underwear. It was like silks and the lace of things and all of these details, because a lot of it was original. We did get some original pieces, I should say, not a lot, all of it, but some. And and that all, these heavy wools. It was August when we were shooting. But that would have been seasonally correct anyways. Like those were the fabrics, that they wore then. Yeah, so yeah, it all informs how the character is.
100% how you would walk and talk and breathe and even did you do research on how, because the way people converse or the conversation, the patter, the speed is probably quite different.
100%. I mean, unfortunately, there are not a lot of recordings of Black women speaking. I couldn't find any recordings in that time that I had anyways, of Margaret, but I read her speeches, and one of her famous speeches, and just even to see like how the writing of how they spoke is different than how we speak today. Even, I don't know, even an academic, I don't know, maybe an academic be speaking like that, but it was all very much more polished and reserved almost.
And what was, I'm just curious, what was your take on the character? So when you went in, you're like, this is how I see her. This is how I'm going to play her.
Yeah, it was interesting because she's a character that on the page, you could just write her off. I mean, she does say, we're happy to be back here in the kitchen, to be together and just, you know, hanging out. You could read it that way.
Mhm.
But I think she was also, my take anyways, is very astute about what, you know, that expression, know your battles, which ones to fight, which ones you can, you know, which ones you
Mhm.
actually have a shot at winning.
Mhm.
And the truth is, a woman's place in that time, like, it was really difficult. And a Black woman is also not going to be able to just speak up whenever she wants,
Of course.
for the
Right.
most part.
Right.
Madam C.J. Walker was an exception and an exceptional human that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, she did as much as she could within the confines of her beliefs also.
And what was the subtext? Because every time it was brought up that you should talk to your husband, there was like, oh no, we're not talking to that guy.
Oh, because he was, I mean, he was the at the time, the premier, highest status Black educator, and not a politician, but he was involved in politics. He was the first to go to the White House. So he had a lot of status. And as she recognized, as Madam C.J. Walker recognized, an endorsement from him would have been monumental for her, you know, for her business.
Right.
But I think also, I mean, there's another scene later where you meet him and kind of get his take on hair care products. It's not something that interests him, which the wife would have known, you
Mhm.
know, that that's not where we need to be focusing to uplift the race. It's not about,
Right.
you know, our hair care products. But there
Right.
actually was some merit to it, in terms of the psychological, you know, feeling good, looking good. It's all connected. Right?
Exactly. But your character knew where to tread.
Absolutely. She's the wife of a powerful man and knows what her, I hate to use terms like that, but knows her place.
Well,
You know,
in that, yeah,
in that time.
in that time, and but also being a wife, that does translate to now being a wife of, or a mate of someone else who has a lot of stature.
And to be fair, she also had her own focus. Like, she was an educator. She ran the school, the Tuskegee, became a university, but it wasn't quite at that time.
So what, and this is also in your King's show. What is it like to be with an entire Black cast? Is that a whole exciting experience, or tell us about that?
It's joy, you know. There is absolutely yeah, where do I find the words? There is just it's a gift. It's such a gift to have that experience, because it's been so rare for me, and I think so many. It's not every project that you see that many faces, like everywhere you turn, every department head, that your entire cast. Yeah, it's like everybody speaks the same language, and not that you know, we have a separate language, but there's an understanding of lived experience. That's
Right.
the language of lived experience, that everybody knows what is what. So there is a great, I would say the example I could give for us in this conversation is, imagine a production where every crew member was a woman, you know, like everywhere you looked, it's just like a woman empowered in every position, and you're telling a great story surrounded by women. It's that kind of a joy. Where,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. So it's a great experience, and you feel like you're doing something that's important, something that's,
Yeah. And you're showing, I mean, it's also in service to stories that there have been few of,
yeah.
like Madam CJ Walker. I mean, she's a seminal figure that her story is just not known. Like there were so many people that came out and said, I had no idea who this person was
Right.
after it came out. Like how many years after her death, how many decades after her death. And the same Kings of Napa, it's seeing that that style of family. We don't see that
Mhm.
kind of portrayal. So it's fun.
Now we do. All right. So we have a million questions here, Kimberly. So I'm going to bounce in here and we are going to do this thing. So Naraya, I hope I pronounced that right, says, can you explain your experiences with casting so far? Is there something that directors normally look for? I guess in more recent, I was going to ask you, what are you feeling that there's been between Black Lives Matter and Me Too? So like in the last 5 years, let's say, do you feel, or 6 years, do you feel change in
Absolutely.
things? And tell us what you're thinking about that.
Well, for one, things like Kings of Napa and Abbott and Elementary and so many shows right now that I think there's just more space being made to tell more of these stories through that lens, through a Black lens. That's one part. And then just in terms of just general, like, I don't want to say generic, but in storytelling, you have all different types of people. But there has been a tendency, just because it's the default, that, oh, okay, this guest star, this lawyer, this doctor, they're not the leads, but they're part of the storytelling process. The default has been the status quo. And now I have found that, yeah, there are parts where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, they're specifically saying, let's open this up. Let's see, and not just BIPOC,
Right.
whatever, however you want to call it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that just lends you to have more choices and more opportunities and
There's
more.
more opportunities for sure.
100%. Sade says, good day, Miss Kimberly. I'm Sade from South Africa. And I would like to know, how does it feel to watch yourself on set? And does it help to motivate you anyway? I guess, do you watch playback?
Very rare. I mean, you know what? Sometimes I don't even have access to the playback. And I actually don't need to look at it unless there's a specific reason. Like, unless I need to see, there's something visual, like I need to see of like spatially. But for what I'm doing, I'm just gonna trust that I'm doing what I need to do, and the director and makeup and hair and whoever else needs to watch for things, that they'll do their job. It kind of can confuse things.
Would that take you out if you started watching your performance?
Yeah, because I'm not, I generally think, and this will spur more questions maybe, or comments, we're not our best critics, so we're going to be a little too nitpicky, a little too harsh, and maybe that is not in service to the whole. So
Do you understand actors who won't break character? Like they come to set their character, they go home their character, because they feel if they started having lunch and change, it'd be hard for them to reel it back?
I mean, if it's not for me to say what another actor needs to, what will feed them in creating this life that they're living. And for sure, there are some there are some characters, some lives being lived that are so outside of your own that maybe to get too comfortable in your back in your own skin will be distracting. I can appreciate that. I don't know that it needs to be made a thing about. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, do you, but just do you. Like, it doesn't have to be a production for everybody, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Do you find, like, before you go, like when you're like, I guess, hanging out before you're shooting your scene and you're on set or you're in a trailer or you're doing, what is your thing that you do? Do you have a consistent practice that you have at that point?
When I'm already working,
When you're waiting, you're on set, but you're waiting, you know, you're not shooting for another hour or so.
Yeah, well, for another hour, then hopefully I am able to be in a quiet place, like in my room, in my trailer, where I can be quiet and undistracted by like life stuff, which, yeah, it will pull you out. I mean, I don't have to be in my character, but I need to be keeping the information of the world, of the story, present. I don't want it to like go too far away, and keep myself relaxed. Absolutely.
So you're not necessarily scrolling on your phone at that point.
No, unless I've got a ton of time that I can get myself back.
Right. I totally understand. Okay, Rivka asks from Indonesia.
Hey, Rivka.
You look so great. Can you please share tips on how to start learning acting and overcoming nervousness with acting?
Well, find good teachers, find a good school. I don't know anything about, you know, the landscape of acting schools in Indonesia, but you could even look online, I bet, now too. And in terms of nerves, I would say, first of all, you know, focus on getting the craft, learning the craft. And if you are focused in doing the job, the nerves will take care of themselves.
When do you get nervous?
So that's the thing. Like, I can get nervous before. Absolutely. I get nervous before an audition, especially if the stakes are high and I really, really want it. And then I just really just have to focus on, let me just do my job. The job is to turn up and serve the scene. And that will pull me out of, because the nerves are about me. Right? As soon as I'm all about me, Kimberly, and do I look right? And am I what they're looking for? I'm not serving as an actor anymore.
Right.
I'm not in the part. I'm not in the character. I'm not giving life to this story. You know, I'm in my ego. So.
But there is something good. Because I get nervous almost every time I go to set. I mean, I get nervous every time I go to set, but I value that. And I've heard other really good directors talk, and they also, you know, it's like, if you're not having that sort of stimulus, like,
sure.
It's like, once you start doing the thing, it's just exactly what you're saying. Once you are actually in acting, doing what you're doing in service of the story, then there's no nerves because you're in action.
Right.
But there is something about being alive, you know, that's so the beauty of the craft.
Yes.
Of filmmaking, it makes you feel alive. It's not just going to the same job every day, day after day, punching the clock, let's say.
Yeah,
no. Jeremy asked, for actors who are struggling to book, what would be your advice to overcome failed auditions? Ooh, that's a crafty question.
What's my little words of wisdom on this? I would try to not think of them as failed auditions. First and foremost, as an actor, first of all, there are 9 million reasons that you're not getting booked. And million point something of them are outside of your control of those reasons. So every audition, every opportunity to act, it's an opportunity to work on your craft, on your passion, if it's your passion, if that, because I don't know why you're doing it if it's not, and because it's too painful, honestly, and that there's always something that you can learn. So it's not a failure if you don't set up something for yourself to take away from the experience of each audition, right? So give yourself something that you can win at in that audition. I don't know, it could be like, I didn't book it, but I made them laugh. So you won, you know, or I didn't book it, but oh man, I saw that they were affected, or I felt affected. I felt really connected to the material, to what I was saying. You know, set yourself a challenge that is not about booking the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that you have control over.
Well, I love what you're talking about is also, and it seems to me, if I was an actor, it's like that every time you get to audition, it's like you get to act. And it's like, and so you're not acting in your house, in your closet, you're actually acting with other people in the thing. So I think that's, it's like every time I go and pitch, I actually like pitching. I think pitching is sort of like going to therapy, because someone is sitting there listening to my ideas and they're not talking and they're just listening to me. And I'm like, how great is that?
That's a crazy analogy, but I get it.
Exactly. We have a question here that someone asked, I just can't find the name, which I like, is what's some of the best advice that you've been given, if you recall any of it?
Actually, what I just gave, which is to set a goal for yourself, to set a goal for myself with, you know, listen, I'm not saying that I remember that every single time. You know, sometimes I get all caught up in, I want them to, you know, I want it. I want this part. And then it's not so much about, well, what am I bringing to this part? You know, I just want it. Then yeah. Did that answer the question? Yeah,
that answered it really well. I think we have time for one more question. I think you'll appreciate this. Pamela says, does it matter at what age I start truly pursuing acting?
No.
Why is
Having transitioned from ingenue to young mom to prime of my life, I don't know where I'm at right now, but I would say there's always parts, because humanity exists at every age and we need all the representation in telling stories. So there's never too late of a time.
That is a very good answer. Kimberly, you've been amazing. Our time is now up. And where can people, if they want to watch your stuff or follow you on something or other?
Yes, it's my name, Kimberly Huie. Huie is the last name spelling. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the socials. I'm out there. Yeah.
Okay, that is excellent. We're so pleased to have you. This has been so awesome. We could talk for like hours.
I know. I can't believe it flew. Thank you.
And thank you, Charlie. Charlie just put it in the chat for everybody to spell it correctly and add to your fan club, which we are big fans of. So thank you. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
And thank you, New York Film Academy, for presenting the 2020 series. And everyone be safe and have a great shoot this week. Kimberly.
Thank you.